thanks Eugenie, who is not here today, but she coded a lot of data, including those I present now. And I'm very impressed by this work, also the work of all the coders. Very impressive. Centralization of power. This is my paper. Is not a paper yet, just exploratory data, and also quantitative. So one observation means one. There is no difference. I don't distinguish here between important decision and a very detailed regulations. I will in the paper, but just I would like to give you now, for the moment, what I have. So the general information about different aspects of centralization of power. The general question is that generally literature said that decentralization, especially federalism, is more efficient in normal times, but centralization is more efficient in exceptional times. So, because in exceptional times we have to take decisions fast, coordinate, and we need to force different territories to cooperate each other. So this is the general argument, and recently some publications, I just show here two of them, have analyzed if the second consequence is true. Is centralization more efficient in time of crisis? And the first problem is to define crisis, because in 2008, the first, do you remember the economic crisis? The economic crisis hit all the states, so it is possible to compare between states if the most centralized are more efficient in economic crisis. And the results are not clear, especially the regionalized states, Spain and Italy, was maybe less efficient, but federal states not. So it's difficult to say that for economic crisis. But maybe economic crisis was not really a crisis, because it's a more widespread in time. And maybe COVID is a good opportunity to see the same thing with another kind of crisis. Especially in France, just I give you a discussion about it, because just I cited, well, I could choose another support, but a think tank named Rousseau, at the beginning of the COVID, predicted a great success for France, which is very centralized, and compared to Germany. France, you know, big country, very jealous with Germany, so the comparison is common. And this is the idea. Centralized states is the revenge of centralized states. So the point is what the data said. So yes, just I don't know why I repeat the same thing. Sorry for my. So, what type of centralization can I grasp from exception data? I found three aspects: only for, again, quantitative approach. And there are also other dimensions when I will study law by law. But the first one is the coverage of policies. Do policies cover all the national territory, or they differ one region from the other? This is the first question. The second aspect is who take decisions. Decisions come from the central authority or from the local places. And the third aspect is to find specific law that give more power to the center or more power to the local places. So this is the first result. No, I would like also show you just, this is not obviously an evidence, but just to see that the first rough data don't show that the question is, the centralization is more protective, at least it's not obvious. And when I take dates for 100,000 people, yes, federal states are on average less, more protective, but as usual, high decentralized states are the worst protective on average. So it is difficult to find an obvious answer on that. That's why I believe that exception is useful, not only because we can be more sophisticated to analyze that, but we can also be more precise to study where whether federal states centralized. When we say federal states are more protective, they maybe don't remain federal during the COVID. So we have to study also what is the change after the COVID compared to the situation before. So, first result is about coverage. And I have distinguished between the three waves. I give you percentage, no figure. It's not beautiful, but maybe easy to see in detail. The first impression is that there is big differences between countries. For example, in Germany, decision was very regional at the first wave, and then they were all national. I believe I noticed that on newspapers, but with numbers it's more impressive that I believe. And in Cyprus, which is yes, a bit further, a bit special, divided into places, it is the opposite. So there are different paths. And for example, Switzerland is more similar to Germany, but less radical, and Austria more similar to Cyprus. Centralized states are almost all centralized. There is no big variance, except Greece, that this is the percentage of decision taking for the national country. So the Greece in the wave 3, only 20% of decision cover all the territory. So this is specific. The other country, maybe a bit Portugal, they remain centralized. And in poorly centralized states, so the middle, you can maybe discuss the category. This is for us. There is big differences, but the most of them decentralized the coverage of decision in the second, then in the third wave. This is the case for UK, France, Poland, Czech Republic, and Finland in a very impressive way. And only Hungary centralized compared to the first wave. So the tendency is to decentralize in these countries. So that's it for the moment. Just I would like to see if the same trend we observe here could be observed also in when we measure decentralization differently with who decide. And in this case, all the countries are not similar. Here, the percentages are the percentage of local decision taken at local level. So it's the opposite than before. So you see here, but maybe for the reason, I don't know exactly, maybe when I see 0%, I suppose that maybe there is a problem in the database. So especially in Italy, for example, maybe we can check what, maybe it's possible, and it's true. In Spain, it's the opposite than in Italy, and the number of local decisions increase a lot in the second wave. Well, so in federal states also they are globally decreasing, except in Belgium in the third wave. And in centralized states, they tend to be stable, so they stay centralized except Portugal. And in less decentralized states, in the middle, decisions at the local level, also there is no big variance, but in Finland, France, and UK, they tend to increase, except, yes, in UK it's less clear, but so local authority take power more. And finally, this is the policies that increase centralization versus decentralization. So again, here just I count them. So it should be better if I just study one by one. But the interesting point is that in all the countries, in the first wave, the situation is same as before or more centralized. There is no decentralization in the first wave. And in the second and the third is the opposite. So we could argue that the opposite means that the country come back to the original situation. But this is not especially the case because this decoding normally is giving more power is 1 and come back to the status quo is 0. So there is a difference between both. I don't know how each of us has coded because we have only 2 zeros. And I'm a bit surprised that only 2 countries come back to initial situations after the crisis. But this is interesting that second wave was very decentralized compared to the first one. The first reaction was centralized. So my first, for the moment, conclusion, and I have to see what I have to do after. So please give me some advices. For the moment, no evidence that centralization is the right way to manage crisis. At least it is not obvious at first sight. Federal states are not, there is no catastrophic consequence for them. Globally, the general trend is that 11 states tend to localized policies, competencies, and 5 tend to centralized when we consider from the first to the third wave. So they tend to decentralize more during the crisis. This is not intuitive. Also, 5 countries increase the number of local legislation and 3 decrease it. And finally, is the last table. 18 countries centralized their decision, so in the first wave, against only 1. We found only Czech Republic that in the first wave decentralized more. It is a strange case. But in the second wave, 8 versus 4 decentralized, and the third wave, 7 decentralized, and no one centralized power. So this is, for the moment, I have no clues to explain that, but I would like to use your brain for that. Thank you.